Hello and welcome to episode 42 of the Indie String Podcast. I'm your host, Kay, also known as Indie String on Ravelry, Instagram, and Facebook. Please come find me, friend me, and I love to see everything that you guys are doing and knitting. It's a little bit of a weird episode if you're watching me. I hardly ever knit during the show. However, I'm in the middle of a row on my current project, and so I'm trying to get to the end to be able to show you guys where I'm at. I have been postponing for a day to see if I could get this done to show you guys, but I know now it's never going to happen. It's about 10 o'clock on a work night, and yeah, it was just time I had to record. So I hope you guys had a wonderful time. I'm sorry. It seems like my schedule is never very consistent, and I apologize. I really do try, but I learned a while ago that, family first. So last week, every single night I had something and I couldn't record because I wasn't home. But I'm doing the best that I can, and hopefully I don't have anything going on in the next few weeks, so we should be pretty consistent. So let's get some admin out of the way for you guys. My hair is bothering me, sorry. We had the Christmas is Coming KAL, and for that we were going to have 2 winners. I want to thank everyone who participated. It was awesome. We had 66 entries. Well, 56. No, 65. See, I can't even think. It's the end of the day. And that is the most participation that I have ever had in a KAL. It was so awesome to see everything you guys were knitting and making, because winter is now definitely here, or at least fall is in full force for everybody. So I hope some of those hand knits that you guys made are being put to good use. So I went ahead and I drew 2 winners. We are going to have 2 prizes for this. One is a skein of Madeline Tosh yarn in Sport in the Vanilla Bean colorway, and one is a free pattern up to $10. So the first winner was Lady Fernaco, and she had a beautiful crocheted scarf that was modeled by her lovely daughter, and she's going to win the skein of Madeline Tosh Sport. She was the first name that I drew. She also has her own podcast with her daughter. It's called the Pen, Hook, and Needles podcast. Check them out. I watch it. It's a really great podcast. So if she just wants to contact me, and I will get your prize mailed out to you this week. And then the second for the $10 pattern is The Yarn Goes On. So congratulations. So just private message me on Ravelry and tell me what pattern that you would like, and I'd be happy to purchase it for you, so you can hopefully start your next big project. So thanks everybody. I am trying to think of something good for the next giveaway, and I think it's going to be, you know what? I don't know. There's some ideas floating around in my head, and if you have any good ideas or you'd like to do something, just let me know and we'll be happy to do it. It's kind of a weird time of year. Everybody is knitting, it feels like, full force, right? However, there's so many obligations. In the United States, Thanksgiving is coming up, and then the holidays. You got Kwanzaa and Hanukkah, Christmas, and all of the holidays that are celebrated all over the world are coming. And most of them, not all of them, do involve some sort of gift giving. So I know many people are, hunkering down with the yarn and needles or crochet hook and trying to get some things done for the holiday season. So I don't really like to impose on this kind of crazy time. I'm not a stress. I don't want any stress. I think we all have enough stress in our life as it is, and I try to avoid it as much as possible. So along with a little administrator, you're going to notice that behind me on my chalkboard, I used to have written in chalk Indie String, and it's no longer there. Well, that's because I got a wonderful surprise in the mail from my mom. So I'm going to show you guys, because I've tried to put it up like 3 times, and it's fallen on me a few times. And so I am now waiting for my husband to get home to devise the best way to get this up. But she got me this. Isn't it awesome? I love it so much. It's amazing. It is, I don't know. It's just, it's so awesome. It was a great present. And so I'm going to put it on the board and back so we have that up there, but it just keeps on falling, and I love my chalkboard. I don't want to put it down and just put that up. So I got to devise a plan to get it to adhere to the chalkboard. But what's happening other than that is me stalling because I'm almost to the end of the row. So I am knitting on the shawl, and I'm forgetting the name of it. Honestly, I've been only knitting this for like weeks. Hold on, it's in a wool people. Kindle? Ah, it's Kindle. Maybe it's kindling. I'm sorry. If this is your first episode, I apologize. I usually am much better prepared. It's the Kindling Shawl by Leela Rabi, and it was in a wool people. And it originally called for Brooklyn tweed, about 750 yards. So I have been knitting like crazy on this because it is here going to get down to 32 tonight, and I really want it to wear to work. I'm sorry I had a pop-up on my computer. But the last time you saw it, I had just cast on, and I think I was right, like right here. Here to, maybe here to here. And this is what I've knit. So this is, the yarn is my yarn Indie String in the Celery colorway. And it is really bunched up on the needles, as you can tell. But I'm loving it. I love the texture. And I'm going to try to flatten out a section on the needle so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. So let's do this section over here. So right now I'm in the border. There is these welts. And when the border's done, I will have 7. This is 6. I'm almost to the 7th one. I'm about 5 rows away from being able to bind off. However, I think I have 300 and some stitches on the needles at this point. As you can see, I'm about maxed out on this cable, but I think I can make it. And so, and then I can bind off and block it. So why did I knit this? A few reasons, other than I love the shawl. It's a beautiful, simple shawl. I want a winter shawl that will give a pop of color. My work wardrobe, I do have to dress up for work in my new job. I should stop calling it my new job. I'll probably call it my new job for like a year. So I do have, from the days when I was in banking and a loan officer, I do have like a trench coat, but it's cream and it's very plain. So I wanted like a bright, happy pop of color. And so this is it. The second is that I wanted to kind of test how our skeins matched when knitted up. So they look very similar in the skein. They look very similar when they're balled up. But however, sometimes even things that look from like super similar, when you start knitting with them, you discover that they're not. Now I have totally discovered that on sweaters when it was, I would never say knitting it's too late because I had to rip out, but dang it, it really stinks when you're 5 inches in and you realize there's like a total line in your knitting. So on this shawl, I am 3 skeins in of the same dye lot, and they are, I cannot tell the difference. They're identical. I did not alternate. I did not do anything except cast on with the new one. So this is how much I have of my 3rd ball. Obviously, I'm not going to make it, so I have my 4th and final ball. And if we put them next to each other, you can see how similar they are. So within a dye lot, our consistency is very good, which means that my next big project will probably be a sweater. But I wanted to kind of test the waters because it's easier in a shawl, even if they don't match, to try to make it be a visual interest. You know, I probably, if I did have skeins that ever didn't match, what I would have done if they were somewhat similar is I would have probably done this welting border and one of the ones that didn't match as well. So I'm super excited. You know, when you get to the end of the project, and I've enjoyed this project all the way through, and you get to the end of it and you don't want it to really end, and I'm kind of there. I want it to end because I want the finished product, but I'm enjoying knitting it completely. And I really like that the border is the simplest part of the shawl. As you all have probably a million times, you knit shawls, and the center is easy peasy. It's stockinette or garter stitch or a very simple motif, and then you go to the border and it's like blinged out. Like it's knitting on steroids, where it is like crazy lace patterns or crazy cables, or there's just something going on, right? It is so nice to knit something where the border is the simplest part, because I am just knitting along. I can be anywhere, I can be doing anything, and it is amazingly simple. And so I don't know if I've knit a shawl like that before, where that is the very simplest part of it. So hopefully next time you'll see this finished. And then what else have I been doing? One other project is my Tanqueray sweater, which is by Baby Cocktails. Sorry, this episode brought to you by root beer. I love root beer, right? Oh, I don't really like the kind that's like licorice. I like the kind that's vanilla and sweet. Delicious. So all I've really done for this, if you remember last time I showed this, I have both the sleeves done, and so I cast on for the back. So just started the twisted rib. I have 16 rows of this twisted rib to do, and I'm about halfway there. Maybe not. Six rows there. So I have 10 more rows to do. I do really like it. I really like my needles. I'm knitting the Sun Signature needles that my sisters got me for a birthday present. And this is out of Pigeon Roof Merino Cashmere Silk in the golden colorway. And this base is no longer available, unfortunately. It is divine, and I love it. I kind of set it down because I'm a little frustrated with the pattern. And I don't know if I'm going to run out of yarn. And it seems to slow me down when I'm going to run out of yarn. Some people, it totally speeds them up. It's like a race, right? It doesn't. I slow down to like a snail because I get so fearful I'm going to run out of yarn. And I dread that moment. And I dread it so hard. And I would say I've been knitting for 8 years to 9 years, and I've only ever ran out of yarn twice. 2 times. And I was able to one time get a yarn on stash because I was like 10 yards short and matched perfectly. And another time it was completely unnoticeable between the dye lots. I mean, they were, but it was such a short section. It was probably 15 yards that it didn't matter. So I don't know why it slows me down so much, but it does. Typically, I'm the person that has three skeins too many because I'm so petrified of running out. And since I only really knit with indie yarn, I just never know if one, they're going to have that base anymore, or if they're going to dye that colorway anymore, or third, if it will match at all. I mean, I think we've all been the victims of buying indie and getting 2 things that totally don't match. I wouldn't say that that's always the case. There are dyers that I have found that that's pretty routine for them. So I very much try to buy as much as I think that I'll need at one go out. I mean, I wouldn't say that it precludes me from buying their yarn, but like hazelnuts, fantastic. I have bought 1 skein and 3 years later bought another skein and it was exactly the same. And that is the kind of consistency that indie string will have. Hopefully in 3 years. I don't know yet. It will be exactly the same as the stuff you get today. We have a rigorous quality control. So that's just a personal pet peeve of mine. But anyways, that's what I've been knitting, you guys. So what have I been spinning? I showed you guys something last time, and I am spinning again. I would say that you're probably not going to see anything for several weeks. The only time that I really can spin is when my daughter is taking her bath. She's 6 years old, and you know, she's just like, I don't need you anymore in here. So I have a Jack and Jill bedroom, and one of the bedrooms is my yarn room, and the other one is her room. So the bathroom that she takes a bath in is connected. So I sit there for the 10 or 15 minutes and spin, and that's all I really get to spin anymore. On my matchless, because it's kind of big and bulky, and it doesn't really, I don't really want to carry it up and down my stairs. So it'll take me a few weeks, but I'm working on some merino cashmere silk, and it's awesome. It's amazing, and I love it, and I can't wait to show all you guys. So let's go to enabling, right? Yeah, I actually have enabling this week. Ah, hurrah! Okay, so I custom ordered some yarn. I have not bought yarn as evidence that I haven't showed you guys any yarn. It feels like in months. So I went out and I purchased some yarn from Moon Rover. This is her Wild Sock. And it's 420 yards of a superwash merino. And I believe this is the Shipwreck colorway. Yep, it's Shipwreck. So it is gray, bits of teal, and then if you can see, there's that really kind of coppery color, coppery brown. And the smush factor is really good. I really like it. It's a soft merino. I don't know how well this would hold up for socks, but I like nylon in my socks, so teach their own. Says the woman who's only ever knit one pair of full socks. So don't really take my word for it. But I have 4 skeins. They match well. Some of them have more blue in them than others, but that's easily fixed. I would alternate skeins anyways on this to avoid pooling of any kind. But I think that I'm going to knit a big cardigan out of it. Whether I get to it, you know, today or in 10 years probably. That's how much yarn I have. It'll be okay. The smell factor is that it doesn't really smell like anything. Doesn't even really smell like wool. So that's a good job on her part. I don't know. I just love it. I love the little surprises of the teal and the coppery brown orangey color mixed with variegation of a gray. I love it, and I'm so happy with it. Her customer service was awesome. Her shipping was great and on time. I think she was actually early. She quoted, I think, about 2 weeks, and I got it in a week. So she's really fast dyeing it up for me. The base is great. It was wonderful. It came in a nice wrapped package, and I love it. I'm like a little kid. I love it, and I'm super excited about it. Okay. Oh my goodness, everything's falling over here. Okay, so next we're going to talk about indie string. So, sorry, shameless plug. So exciting things are happening. I feel like the exciting things are always happening. But there's some new colorways up in the shop. Amethyst Gold, which is a beautiful amethyst gold color. It's like so hard to explain. Like a beautiful raspberry, not even purpley pink. It's beautiful. It's a really beautiful colorway that kind of glows. I'm super happy with it. It was an experiment. So what I do, I know every dyer's process is different. So some dyers just kind of throw stuff in the pot. They'll look at what they have, or they'll look at their dyes for the day and say, you know, I'm thinking this, or I'm feeling this, or they'll see a picture and they will go ahead and form inspiration off of that. I haven't done the picture thing. Possibly I could do that, but I try to be very organized. So I write out my full dye recipes before anything touches a pot. This is good and bad. Sometimes I get stuff that I had no idea about, but I would tell you most of the time it turns out well for me. And so then I have everything written down. We follow a recipe and everything's cut and dry. When Amethyst Gold came out, it was not the color that I was thinking at all. When I wrote that dye, I had no idea that this was going to be the output. And that's what's fun about dyeing. You never know. And when I gave, the recipe and told people what the two colors ways were that brought together to make Amethyst Gold, they don't believe me. So and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a picture, as always, of Amethyst Gold in here so you can see it. So one second, and I hope you guys love it. It's beautiful. All right, so we're back, and I was able to fix my bangs that were driving me crazy. So the second thing that's going on in the shop is on Thursday the 13th, so 11/13, there will be a new thing up in the shop, which is bags. So my mom is hand making all the bags, and actually Indie String is not only my company, but it is my mom's company and my father's company. We're doing it all together. And so my mom has decided to make bags, and we thought from the beginning that we would make bags. I love bags, as evidence of how many of them I have. At work, they call me the bag lady because I bring in so many different bags every week. I love containers of any kind, and bags are no shortage in knitting. So my mom has her own particular style and design, and I have showed you guys before, but I'm gonna run quickly through it so you guys will know. And there will be, I think, either 5. There'll be 20 bags available in a myriad of different prints. Some will have 1 available, some will have 10 available, or 3 available, I think is the most. So there's a limited quantity of what's on the site. In addition to that, some will be spinning bags, and when we get to the spinning bags, I'll talk to you about those particular things. But this is a bag my mom made me, and so it does sit up once there's skeins in it. In addition, there's a few things. She leaves the ends on these so you have leverage to open. She does use YKK zippers, and if you guys are wondering about that, that's just the best quality brand of zipper typically. There's different brands as well of those. So I'm going to turn this bag inside out so you can see finishing. I am not a huge, I shouldn't say I'm not a huge sewer. I'm not a sewer of any kind. However, my mom sews. My sister is a huge sewer. My grandma was a gigantic sewer as well. And so there's just some things that you do when you sew. So the bottoms are, the bag itself is completely finished. There are no raw edges. There's no peri cutters. There's no nothing. It is a finished, completely finished bag. And so for me, when I'm buying a bag, that's important. That is not important to everybody, but I like that things are finished completely. Over time, maybe it's just my mind, but to me, it's better quality. It'll hold up better. In addition, when she puts on the zippers and she leaves the tab out, you get a nice little hole right there. There's two things about that. When I am knitting with a skein of yarn, if I would like, I can thread it through that hole with my knitting needles. And this is big enough to put knitting needles through. And I can knit with the bag zipped shut and knit on my project. So good for if you're in the car or if you're riding the bus, so you don't lose your skein of yarn. In addition, I'm going to get them. These are a size 8 needle, and you see they fit through very easily. I think, yeah, you could probably get like a 15 size needle through that opening, so you are able to thread your project in and out, or thread your needles in and out. So if I had a project, like I had this in here, and I did not want it to fall off the needles, another thing you can do is you can put the project inside. You can take the 2 needles, if I can find them through all this fabric, and you can scrunch it up, and then you can zipper this in. And this is going to take me a minute. This is a gigantic project. I can put it in this bag and then shove these through the end, so I know my project is not going to fall off the needles, and then I can zip up the bag. So there you go. And so when these are out here, I know that my project is staying on the needles and it's not slipping off. So that's helpful when you're working with really slippery yarn, maybe a linen or a silk, and also you're knitting pretty loosely. I am a very tight knitter. I don't have the problem that yarn falls off my needles, but if you're a loose knitter, it could be something you fight quite regularly, and this is a really good tool to be able to make sure that that's not happening. The next thing is that, say you don't want those openings. When my mom is making smaller bags, I used one when I was knitting a fingerless mitt, and I had size 1 needles on it. And I was like, man, I love these openings for circulars, but they're kind of driving me crazy for double points. And my mom's like, well, you know, you can just fix it, right? I was like, what are you talking about? So this is the end, and that's the hole. If I, for some reason, don't want there to be a hole there, all I do is I take the tab and I push it down in there, and no more hole. So now the bag has no hole on the end, if you can kind of see that. And so my needles can't fall out. So it's kind of versatile. You can have the openings. You could put your phone in there and string your headphones through it. You can put your needles through it like here. You can take your yarn and put your yarn out here. You also, if you were doing color work, you could put 2 different colors in this bag, and one color could come out one end and one color could come out the other end, and that might help you eliminate some tangling. Or if you don't want them at all you have to do is tuck in the ends, and then you have no hole. So I really love it. I love the idea and the versatility behind it. So this is the normal size bag that she'll be selling. So I myself can fit 3 worsted weight skeins across the bottom, and I could fit another row of 3. So I could fit 6 skeins in here. But let's do some fingering weight yarn. Hi you guys. So I totally turned off my webcam and I completely didn't notice, and I continued talking for about 15 minutes and went to go turn it off and noticed it was off. It was great. I really thought about everything I'm going to say now. Okay, so I was able to fit all 4 of those skeins in here by Moon Rover. I almost said Moon Lover. And so they're all in here. There's 2 more in the bottom there. And so you can fit about 4 skeins of yarn in this. This will be her standard size. In addition to that, she's going to put up in the shop some spinning bags. The spinning bags are bags that are lined with satin. When I travel with my mini spinner, or when I take any wool downstairs where I have my animals, I have to put them in a bag. And I was putting them in my regular bags that I put my knitting in, and I was noticing that when I took the fiber out, it was catching on the cotton, and it would leave like a film of fiber behind. And so I didn't really like that. To be pretty honest, it annoyed me. And so my mom made a bag that has a satin lining in it for all my fiber, especially when I travel. And I have to pretty much put my fiber in something all the time, as my daughter loves to play with it, and I have animals that love to play with my fiber. So I have a matchless and a mini spinner, and so all my fiber that I'm currently working on does get put into a bag every evening after I'm done spinning. And so they're great if you have a spindle or a drop spindle or supported spindle. These bags should be large enough to fit 4 ounces of fiber and your spinning spindle. In addition to that, they may be big enough to fit, I don't know what you guys call them. I've never used a spindle in my life. Which I really am thinking I probably should at one point, at least to see if I like it, right? That's the problem with every fiber artist. That's what you start with. I should just try this out, and then you totally become addicted. Hence me, addicted to fiber. Worst things I could be addicted to, right? But still, come on. But anyways, when you have a ball, or you have like a shaft that has the actual spinning singles on your yarn, your spun singles, and you either replace this shaft or you take that off, those will also fit in the bag. The bag will be quite roomy, but it will be nice and satin, so your fiber, no matter the content, won't snag or leave particles behind. Also, when I'm switching from project to project, if I do have stuff that's left in the bag, like I was doing yak silk and it was completely lined, on a cotton bag, I have to lint that out, because the next fiber I put in there, I don't want the yak silk all over it to be spun into my spinning, because I'm a little OCD and I want them to be separate. I don't want a mixture of fibers or a mixture of colors, just because I don't know how that's going to react or how it looks. Like, especially if I'm spinning like a gray and then I go to like a hot orange, I don't want there to be like a chunk of gray in there. I just want it to be the intentional color. Okay, that's it. Come check us out. Come check the bags out. I'm super excited. I love them. I think they're lovely and versatile, and I hope you guys agree. So, rants and raves. It was a crazy week. Crazy week and a half, really. It's just been, I'm tired. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm tired. And I know you guys can tell because I'm not as peppy as usual, so I apologize. I had something every day of the week last week. And that was horrible and wonderful at the same time. It was nice to be busy, and I did some fun things. I mean, it wasn't just work related or chop, but it's hard. It's hard to be away from home and to be doing stuff like that. I know some people thrive on it, but I like to be home. I like my family, and I like my time, my quiet time. So that was a busy week. And then my husband left to go to Texas on a business trip. He travels about, he would tell you it's not 50%, but the last little bit, the last few months has been quite a bit, at least 50%. He's been traveling. So he's going to be gone about 2 weeks. So weekends and the whole shebang. And then he'll be home in time for Thanksgiving. So that's fine. It is what it is. But he'll be here for the holidays, and that's what's important. So he has flown away, and I swear, right before he left, my dog got sick. And it's a sad story. I don't know how sad yet, but this is my dog. It's the dog I picked out. It's the dog I wanted. It's a Weimaraner. And we got her when she was a puppy. She was the last of the litter. The breeders were going to keep her. However, they decided that, I think at that point they had either 3 or 4 Weimaraners in a tiny house, and it was just too much. So they put her up, and we got her. And this is the first dog that I picked out that was kind of my dog. I mean, it was my husband's and me, but my dog. And so she's sick, so we took her in, and she kind of has like these patches, and I don't know if this is all Weimaraners because I've only ever had her, but whenever she gets hurt, so like she'll cut herself on a bush or something like that, her hair falls out, it scabs over, and her hair never grows back. She seems to have very sensitive skin. And so there we were. Of course, there we were. And she started to get these patches all over her skin, and they looked like psoriasis almost. And I'm sorry, I'm looking down. I'm knitting. I shouldn't be, but I am. And so they looked like psoriasis. And she has dry skin as it is. And we usually do like conditioning treatments. And I hadn't done one in a while. And I just thought, well, you know, maybe I'll just do it this weekend. I'll do a conditioning treatment and maybe just having really dry skin. And you know how you notice something one day and the next day it's completely spiraled out of control? Yeah, spiraled out of control. And so all of a sudden she had like a patch on her head that's this big. All of her hair fell out. It looks like psoriasis, and I was kind of freaking out. So my husband took her to the vet, perplexed. They have no idea what it is. And I'm like, well, that makes us feel good. Now this is, I'll just quite tell you, my vet was all full. So he took her to another vet. So this is going to be the second time in a row I've taken one of my animals to a vet I don't normally take them to. And miraculously, they have absolutely no idea what it could be. I don't know if I have just like a really good vet or if people are just continually trying to scam you. I haven't decided. So she's like, well, it could be fungal. It could be a bacteria. It could be this. It could be that. So, of course, you know, they take her blood and they take skin samples and they send them off to a lab for a test, a bacterial test, and then she gives us antibiotics. And we put her on antibiotics and an antihistamine. Doesn't work. Makes her really tired. Dude, she was sleepy. But it didn't work. So called her back and said, you know, it's not working. It's not working at all. And she's like, well, we don't have the test back. And, you know, what if it isn't a bacteria or a fungal infection? And she's like, oh, well, if it's not, you know, skin cancer. Okay. So she's on steroids now. The test has finally come back and it's a negative. So this vet believes, that vet we took her to believes she has skin cancer. Sorry, I'm getting a text message. And I don't know. My dog has gone from having patches on her skin to not being able to eat. She is vomiting. If I can get the steroids down her, she's fine. She's playing with her other sister puppy, and she's happy as a lark and eating like normal. But the second those steroids wear off, she's miserable. It's not like she's in pain. If she was in pain, that would be a different matter. But she's like, you know, like when you have a sick kid and they're just like, man, my tummy hurts. And they want to lay there and they don't really want to do anything. And their tummy just kind of hurts. That's what she's kind of like. Not completely lethargic or mean or grouchy, but she is just a sick puppy. So my husband's gone for 2 weeks. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to take her back to my vet, who always seems to miraculously know what's right and wrong. And I'm just hoping at this point that I have enough medicine to get her through until when my husband gets back. And then, you know, make a decision. I don't know. I want him to be able to be here to say goodbye. This is our first animal we had together. We got her, I shouldn't say that. We adopted one older animal before her. This is the first puppy we had together. And I don't know. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair for me to make a decision like that. So, on my own, even though it's my dog. So I'm just going to hold out 2 weeks, keep on cleaning up doggy poop and puke. Hopefully it gets better, man. I told my husband on the phone, man, this has been a rough time for you to be gone. Rough. It's usually not so bad. Usually I'm more chipper and no big deal. I'm by myself all the time. But I got a kid who keeps on telling me she don't want to go to school, and a dog who keeps on puking, and work is crazy busy. It's the busiest season of the year right now where I work. But they're still amazingly kind. So the last story of the rants and raves is that, and hopefully we got to end on some good notes because, man, that last part was depressing. So I'm there at 5:10. I could have stayed at work till 7 o'clock tonight. There's a lot of stuff I have to do. And I was feeling kind of stressed this morning. And one of the guys I work with, that he's not my boss, but he kind of is. It's really weird. I feel like sometimes I have 3 or 4 bosses. And he comes down and he's like, it's 5:10. What are you guys doing here? And we're like, we're working. And he's like, you need to go home. Shut off your computer. And it's so wonderful to work at a place that isn't like, oh, just stay until, you know, you get it done. They're so awesome that they're like, go home. Awesome. So those are the happiness that I feel every day when people call me to complain about stuff, and you know, no place is perfect, but I sit there and I just think, I love my job. I love where I work. It's awesome. So you guys, I hope you're going to have a wonderful week. If you do have, remember, if you have any ideas about the next KAL, let me know. Just give me a PM and we'll catch up. And I just hope you guys knit. Find some time for yourself. Find some happiness in your knitting. And as always, knit with some love, you guys. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.